What we have here is a late model Serro Scotty, 68 to 70 frame, easily used for multiple years. This is a Gaucho model. Dinette that also makes into a bed. For those of you that are not familiar with what a Serro Scotty is, go ahead and pause this video, do a Google search, and you'll see what we're talking about. Also, if you're following us on our Facebook page, we will have some photos on that. You can also visit our Patreon page. That would be patreon.com/2feathers_restorations_design. That is a membership page. There is a free membership, although we don't offer too much to you at that level any more than following us on Facebook. But we also have options that do give you a lot of insight behind the scenes that you otherwise would not get. That can be tips, that can be ideas of how to restore stuff safely, properly, correctly, so that you know that you and your family can travel down the road with a vehicle that is built better or the same as what it was from the factory. A lot of what you see online, well, just because somebody says you can replace the panel from the inside of your camper is not structurally true. That can actually jeopardize your trailer, and if it comes undone while you're driving down the road and disintegrates, guess who's going to prison or jail? You, the driver. So let's not do that. Let's prevent that by doing your restoration properly. If you go to a professional shop, such as a shop like ours, this is what you want to see. High quality craftsmanship. After all, that's what you pay us the big dollars for. Well, not really. We're only $139 an hour. However, you do get what you pay for. In our case, high quality craftsmanship. This is night and day from what Serro Scotty produced. So what you have here to explain to you is the flooring is real marine grade plywood. You ask, what in the world does he mean? Well, you have multiple layers of wood, and you can kind of see how many layers, just more than I can count. Well, not really, I can try. But that glue is a waterproof glue. Now, what you also see below that is pressure treated wood. Now, we take traditional wood that we can buy from our high quality suppliers, not your traditional local run-of-the-mill hardware stores that start with an H or an L. No, we go to an actual supplier that supplies cabinetry shops and such of the like, or high quality carpenters, the real guys. Well, we still take that wood and we will cut it down and mill it, because unfortunately when it's made at the lumber yard, they usually put it in a dry kiln, or in this case, pressure treat it, which is that wood below that you see the two little screws in there. And that, in turn, is the pressure treated. But in some cases anyway, when the wood is cut, it can be put in a dry kiln and properly cured and all these good old things. Well, it will change its shape a little bit. So we like to make sure it's nice, tight, and square. Unfortunately, the original manufacturer did not do a lot of tight fit and finishes. Now, this floor is in place. It will get some bolts that do go through this frame, which is properly built, and it will get properly secured to that little white thing that you see down there. That is the chassis underneath there. Check out our previous videos to see what I am seeing. Oh, I surprised myself. Guess what? There's bolts. Ha ha, I tricked you. So what we do is that's in place, then we fill it. If you use poor quality fasteners, your camper will disintegrate because it flies off your chassis. Check out our previous video from a customer's trailer who took our course, but yet unfortunately she went to a shop where They claimed to be professionals, presented themselves as otherwise, and ultimately used inferior screws to attach it to the chassis, which, surprisingly, coming from Yonkers to us, it did not disintegrate on the highway, luckily, but it is unsafe for the road, and it's a total loss. She spent $10,000, and now she has discovered, being a retired detective, has discovered over $100,000 that person has taken from other victims. So don't get fooled. You want to see quality as you see here. We are very strict about having craftsmen at our shop. So what we're going to show you is a little tip here today, folks. We didn't show this in the other video, but this is a single piece wall. You guys are wanting to get away from that Serro Scotty that has, you know, 2 or 3 pieces. Well, this is a 10-foot section of plywood. It can only go through a machine, quality plywood. But you need to make sure that what you add on will never become separated, guys. You cannot afford that. So we end up going an extra step here. And what we'll do is we'll pan around. So we do a key system. And so you can see that you have it keyed together. It will never come undone. Surprise, surprise. This will never fail. And you're using very, very high strength glue. So again, it will never separate. This is one sheet of wood at this point. So this is high quality plywood. It's worth the extra money, people. Plywood from your local hardware shop is not going to be worth it. You want to find plywood that has no gaps between the layers. Those little gaps that might be between these layers tells you it's an inferior product. Now this one here, we'll back up here. You can see there's just a little tiny piece. I prefer not seeing that, but that's just a little cavity. We'll let that slide. But if you see a lot of that, I would then have to reject the plywood. When you see big pieces, there's another little tiny piece. But if you see large pieces, it's going to weaken the wall strength. Now this wall is going to get painted. So we have putty on here in areas that we felt were inferior. And so this will be properly sanded down. So this will be restored to look similar to the original camper with the blue wall with the black and white speckle. So that's our preview. We did add that bumper to this camper. We did have to extend the chassis out a little bit. It's a boxed 4-inch bumper, in case you're asking. A lot of these campers did not come with them. It was an accessory from the factory. But great little camper, Serro Scotty Gaucho. Probably when this trailer's done, between, I'd say about $15,000, give or take, maybe even more, depending on the type of materials you choose. But these are great little campers. You can't go wrong. It just depends upon what the condition of the chassis is. This one turned out that the chassis was in fairly decent shape. We have found a few chassis, especially the Highlander, that has some bad chassis where we had to do some frame straightening, reinforcements. This one had a few broken welds. So when you restore a trailer, just because the floor seems good, if you're taking the walls off and things like that, it's just too much of a risk not to just go ahead and replace that floor. I know it's a little extra work, but do yourself a favor when you're working with a Scotty. They're a very, very low budget. They're trying to outsell the Shasta product, especially the Shasta Compacts, when those came out on the market in the late 50s. But do yourself diligence. If you're going to go ahead and do a partial restoration, just do a whole thing if you're stripping it down to the point where all that's left is the floors and the cabinets. All right, guys. Well, visit us on Facebook. If you haven't yet, go ahead and like us and or follow us on patreon.com. We'll leave a little note here following this in our credits. So our guys have gone home for the day, so we thank them. And stay tuned for more fun projects.